Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 2 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm your host, Pasquale Veri, and I'm joined with my co-host, superfan Andy Moyen. Hey, Andy.
Here we go again. What's happening? How's it going?
Going good. We made it to 2. Seemed like a long time ago, too.
Oh, my God, forever.
Tell me about it. So, the Kiss Army Nation podcast is really 4 parts in repeat. So part 1, it's Andy and I's historic adventures. We've got fan profiles, discussion panels, and interviews. And then we repeat. So today's podcast is the fan profile. And I am so happy to introduce our first fan profile, Jim Beis. Jim, welcome to the Kiss Army Nation podcast.
Pasquale, Andy, thanks guys for having me, and thanks everyone for following this podcast. I saw the first one and I was really excited because there's so much potential here for the fans really to get involved and learn a little bit about each other, but also learn a little bit more of where we come from and the history that is a part of all of our lives. So thanks for having me here tonight, guys. I'm really excited about it.
Oh, thank you for that. I remember we met at the KISS pre-party back in March 2019, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I remember that day really well. Boy, you can't believe that it was 2 years ago, but it was. And that was my first time seeing you, Pasquale. I know I had seen you online from time to time, but then to see you in person for the first time was a great opportunity for all of us to get together and continue this linkage, between fans. And Andy, that was the chance that I had to meet you as well. And even at that time, I remember you being that super fan going around and passing around those stickers. I was there and I have a stack of them in this room, and I took a stack of them and I started sticking a few of them up, and I said, well, wait a second, do I really want to stick them or do I want to keep them in case I want to do something else with them? So I have a stack under plastic somewhere in the room. And but that was the first time that we met and in person, and boy, was it a fun night. And I can't wait to get back to that at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I remember going. Well, of course I remember. Well, some parts of it. Some parts of it I don't remember, actually. No, I remember. But I remember going up to you and going, "Hey, man, what's up, man?" I think it was your shirt. Man, I wish I should have. Of course, I usually do some kind of. You had a KISS shirt on, but it was a certain one. I can't remember. Was it a Dress to Kill one or something?
It was the Dress to Kill with a negative on the back. Yeah.
Yeah, and I went right up and I put my arm around you. Didn't you know who the hell you were? Nothing. I just, hey man, I love your shirt. It's my first album. Blah blah blah. Of course, I was red faced. I had a couple drinks in me. Throughout the day. Like I said, I'm not like a huge drinker, anyways. But like I told Pas. It was, being on the other side of not have to doing anything. You know what I mean? Because I've done parties and events, and I know it's like, as much as it's great and fun and awesome, it's still a lot of work. But when you're on the other side and you see somebody else doing it, and I just said, you know what, man? I just get to go. I get to hang out. I get to see Pasquale freak out a couple 100,000 times. And it tease him along the way about it, this and that, and then go to the event and just, here I am crossing the border. Is this guy from New England, the Boston area going into Montreal, the territory, and I wore the Boston shirt with the had the Dress to Kill thing on it. It's a bootleg, but it's just off the hook, and I'm like, man, I got to wear this, Pasquale. Some of the other guys like, I don't think you should wear that to this bar, man. And I'm like,
the beauty.
So
but you mentioned
that. Yeah, I'm like, I don't care. I'm wearing it anyways. I don't care if I get booed. I got booed.
Well, you said it, when you saw me and you did. And I remember that moment. I think I have a picture of that as well, when you came up to me. And there's that true testament of who we are as fans. It doesn't matter where we come from, all walks of life. When we're together, in these gatherings. And Pasquale, I was so thankful that you were able to put this together because there was a lot of us there. And it's like we don't know each other, but all of a sudden we get in a room, with all these like-minded people, fans, and all of a sudden we connect automatically, which is really, I think, for you guys, this whole idea of this podcast is going to do exactly the same thing, but be more far-reaching than being in a room. You know what I mean? So that's what I remember the most, is that I met so many people there that I had seen online, and all of a sudden we've become instant friends, just because of that one event. So amazing. It was really good.
Before this podcast, I was doing Kiss Army Nation events like the party, Kiss Army Nation videos, and the whole point of that was to get together with fans and connect with the fans. And this podcast is just another way of doing that. So, for us, having the opportunity like we are right now to talk to a fellow Kiss fan about our passion. That's what it's about. It's about our passion. It's just a discussion about our love for the band. And that, for me, it's what it's all about.
I agree. And that, for me, too, has always been the case. Every time we've gone to concerts, conventions, any of the above, the first thing that resonates for me is, that sort of brotherhood, sisterhood with the fans, and we share our stories. I remember being in Las Vegas when I went to the Kiss store, in one of the hotels, and man, I went back 2 or 3 times alone, and I was just there, just talking with the people that were there and telling our stories. You had no idea who these people were, and we were all accepted, together, because if you would do this in the general public and start going off like this, people would say, what's wrong with this guy, but then we get with fans and we start talking about all those little things that we've done and things that we've collected, and everybody that we know is a Kiss fan connects with it, and so that's the beauty of what we do. And we've said it before, Pasquale, you and I and I think I heard you guys talk about it. It brings us back to a time when we were these little kids, when we go to the store and we'd see the 16 magazines with the glossy posters, and the Teen Beats and all of that. For those of us of that age, remember that so well. And that was part of the influence bringing us to where we are today. And for me especially, it was all the glam, and it was the show and all of that. But to me, it was more about the image that the band had. And then I started to discover slowly the music,
Mm-hmm.
Now, well, Pass usually asks the questions, but you see, I didn't even know this when I went up and saw you, and I want to put my arms around you and just put my arms around you, hit the pictures, and all the people that were around you. I think, I don't know, what are your friends and family, or I can't remember all the names and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you know who you were, just like, put your arm around, and then, because it's all this stuff, and I'm like, no. And they're like, it's the mayor. I'm like, what? What mayor? Where? Right there. They're having your picture taken with the mayor. And I'm like, what? Come on, get out of here.
Yeah. And look, I'm a mayor of, and like New York, not a little bit like New York. We have 19 boroughs on the island of Montreal. And I'm a mayor of one of those boroughs in the western tip of the island of Montreal. And look, I've been in the municipal world for over 30 years, but it just goes to show you, when I talk about all walks of life, certainly if you start asking Kiss fans what they've done and who they are and what they're doing today, you'll have a wide, sphere of professional people and not professional people, but in all walks of life that are Kiss fans. It unites us. And it's not my title really that does anything. I'm still a Kiss fan. I'll always be a Kiss fan, even though I'm a mayor. You know what I mean? And one of the questions I know that Pasquale had sent me, and it's funny because, do I make it known that I'm a Kiss fan because I'm the mayor? And I say to myself, and I asked this to somebody before, and I said, if I was a Beatles fan, would I really have any reservation? But I never hide the fact that I'm a Kiss fan, ever. Do I go in makeup in council chamber, for deliberations? Of course not. But I don't hide it because it's on my profile. We talk about it. We're in the rooms that we have in our basement with the kids, in our shirts, and on Halloween we're dressed up like it. So no, not at all. We have to really be proud of who we are, and it doesn't define us as what we can be and what we do for a living. You know what I mean? It's just a passion, like you said, Pasquale. And you're a teacher. Look, my older daughter is a teacher too. This is something that is a part of us, but it's not what defines us necessarily, and look, and now she just came, my daughter, downstairs, and she's wearing her Kiss hoodie, and it wasn't even on purpose. It wasn't even on purpose. I'm looking at her and she's not even wearing it on purpose. So it fits in really well with what we're doing now.
You see, you just made my point right there. It's like, talking to fellow Kiss fans, it's like it's a mirror into ourselves. You, I'm an ethics teacher, and people tell me, how can you reconcile the fact that you're an ethics teacher and you love Kiss? Hey, how are you?
Hi. Wait, I
Can't
can't
see.
find the
There
camera.
she is.
Love the hoodie. Love the hoodie.
Thanks, you too.
So you see, that was a spontaneous moment. I don't know if you're going to get more of these, but that was a spontaneous moment.
That's
Those are the best.
That's what I was telling Pasquale, man. That's the kind of stuff we need. You know, we have somebody on, the kids around, somebody's on, but they just like kind of pop in for a couple seconds or whatever. It's all good, man. That's the whole point of the whole thing. I know I know there's some kind of, as Pasquale, structure, but it's always good to have a thing. But you know what? You said it perfectly, because, you know, I would imagine people ask you, oh man, since you're you know, a higher profile, I should say, in that world. I know my words don't come out as right as some, but you hit the nail on the head, because it doesn't matter. Who cares if you're, you know, the mayor, or you're a president, or you're you know, like me, just a regular worker, or I don't care if you scrub a toilet bowl. Who cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, man. Why you have to hide? Like you said, oh, if you're a Beatles fan, you know, you might be a Beatles fan anyways. Who cares? You know, just because, you don't turn around and say, if you're a hockey fan, right? You know, I don't turn around and say, hey, I'm a Bruins fan. Yeah, I'm a Bruins fan, man. And you think I don't care if anybody doesn't know that I'm not a Bruins fan. Or even like, I like hockey in general anyways, but I'm like, I'm a Bruins fan, but I'm not going to turn around and hide it. You know, if I go to Montreal, like I did, went to Montreal, I'm not going to hide the fact that, hey, man, I love Kiss, but hey, man, I'm a Bruins fan, but I love hockey in general too, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm glad that came awesome.
Yeah.
But Jim,
So
you made
I know
the,
must have asked more questions.
well, you made the point. If you were a Beatles fan, no one would question that. But a Kiss fan, all of a sudden, people question it. But it's different. There's a certain stigma that comes with Kiss, and if you're a Kiss fan, you can't be a mayor. If you're a Kiss fan, you can't possibly be a teacher. Now, why do you think that is? What's the stigma that people have regarding the band?
Look, if I look at my youth, okay, I mean, when I discovered Kiss, I was 9 years old, you know, and the first album that I bought was this one.
Oh, yeah.
Which for me, Hotter Than Hell, was the absolute, and to this day, is my favorite album cover of all time, okay? And that was the one that brought me into this. For all our Canadian people watching, we had a record store called Discus. And Discus used to sell, you know, I think I got this one for $4.99 at the time. I mean, this was, you know, so many years ago, right? Well, I remember buying it, and my mother at the time, this immigrant Greek lady, sees the devil on the cover, you know, and right away, without even knowing anything about it, they had that stigma attached to it just from what my mother saw on that album cover. What I was seeing as a young kid was superheroes, you know, it was cool. And I started to look at them, and like all of us did, and start to, you know, find out more about it. But the first reaction is, oh my God, look at them. They look like something evil. You know what I mean? And to this day, I'm sure people perceive them to be as these evil creatures, you know, that have, you know, done something to the youth, you know, in some way or another, you know. And for me, it was never that. And that's why I think if it was the Beatles, if it was, you know, more contemporary music, it would be more acceptable. But I've never, ever hidden the fact, you know, from that. And I remember buying the originals after this. And that's when I discovered all the other albums, Dress to Kill and the first album initially. And my mother saw the flame on the cover, and she would say, oh my God, you know, he's going to burn the house down, because I used to tell her, Mom, he breathes fire. And we didn't have internet. We learned, right? We learned all this stuff. And we went to the magazine store. We'd be sitting there for hours looking through all the pages and seeing all the images. And I remember going home, and I was so excited telling her all this stuff. And she would be afraid that we would burn down the house, because all of a sudden on the cover there was fireballs, you know, and the cover of the original. So for me, it was nothing more than that. It was more the spectacle in the show. But yeah, Pasquale, you know, you see a band like Kiss and some of the newer bands today that look darker than they are, and they don't have that same rapport, you know, as some of the, you know, more contemporary bands. That's why I brought the Beatles, because I said to myself, if I was a mayor and I was afraid of Kiss, exposing that I was a Kiss fan, well, if it was the Beatles, would I feel the same way? And probably not if it was somebody that thought that way. But I don't think that way at all. I mean, for me, it's who I am since I was a young kid, and I'll never change that, ever.
So I want to go back.
Well, the Beatles were considered dangerous.
At that time, they were. You're right. But today,
the Beatles were considered dangerous.
Yeah. You're right, and at that time, but today they're not. Today they're more easy listening. They're more like sort of
No.
the innovators of who started all that rock and roll and the music and the influence that they had on everybody after them. But probably at that time, like Elvis, I guess they probably got that rap too. But Kiss was different for me. They were different. That's what drew me to them. I was always this individualistic kid. I did sports on my own. I played music. And for me, Kiss was who I was, or who I wanted to be. And that to me was that escape to be in that fantasy of the band, and to this day, I mean, I look at the stuff that we all have, and I say every single time I look at it, it's something new that I see in it. I have another perspective of it rather than just being stuff. I know every single item where it's come from. And I don't know, like Pasquale, and I know, Andy, the collection that I've seen that you have, which is incredible. I mean, I have thousands of pieces as well, and I know every single one where it's come from. And I'm just now, imagine, after 45 years, I've started to log all the memorabilia to sort of catalog it, but I had never done that. And that is, my God, after you get to 100 pieces, you realize you have another 3,000 or 4,000 pieces, and you say, oh my God, how long is this going to take, But I started doing that. So in my free time, I find myself doing that a little bit.
Yeah, I began doing the same thing about a year and a half ago. It took me about 6 months to catalog my entire collection. I took pictures of every single item. I must have close to 4,000 items in total. But to go through the items again, it's like collecting. I don't know what it is about collecting. It's just going down memory lane. Almost every piece has a history, a personal history. It takes you back. So is there any pieces in your collection that takes you back?
Well, look, I've seen them. For sure, everything for me is equally as appealing to me. And I have to be honest, from the old stuff, you have some of the fans that I read online, they're only stuck on the 70s Kiss, and nothing more than that. It has to be that, or it has to be the old vintage or coin stuff. And that's fine if that's what they want. But for me, it's every single item to this day. Something that comes out to me is appealing to me. And I look at it the same way. I have some old bootleg stuff. I have the black box, which is released with the solo albums, for example, the cassette with the book where you ask the question, you press play, and then the band answers, That is one of my favorite one, And that one is something that I have. I'm going to pull it out just to show you because I think you've seen it. I think you may even have it. This is the black box. And I know we're not talking about memorabilia, but to me, this was one of my favorite things because I thought I was probably one of the only ones that had it. So it's the black, where is it? Black box. It's a bit damaged on the cover, but it's the cassette and it has the pictures, right? I don't know if you can see that.
There we go.
And then it has the cassette here. And then inside is the albums. And then what it does is it tells you a little bit about the guys here, of course, each one. And then this is the DJ book that they give you. And then you ask the questions. And then when you set up the tape, let's say the DJ would be asking the question, and then they would press play. And then the guy, whether it be Paul or Gene or Peter or Ace, would answer that question. And that's how they used to do interviews. And I knew a guy at a local radio station back in the day when I was really young, and he said, Jim, do you want it? Because I was a Kiss fan. So that is really one of the items that I cherish because I know there's not a lot of them out there. There's been duplicates made. They're on CD now and stuff, but there isn't this. And would I want to have the pinball machine? That was one that I had a chance to get once upon a time. I never bought it. If I had a chance to get it, if it was a reasonable price, probably that would be the one item that I'd like to have just for nostalgic purposes, But like, again, the other day, I looked at some of the new masks that were out, and I bought them. And I remember somebody posting, oh, those are made in China. They're not real. I don't care. I don't care. They're still cool. They're still cool. They still have the logo. They still have the packaging, And for me, that's what it is to be a fan. I don't have a particular period that I'm more interested than other. I love the band in any configuration, to be honest with you, One of the questions was, who was my favorite, band member? For me, of course, it's always been Paul as well, because I always thought and to this day, if I compare him to other bands, I always thought he was probably one of the best frontmen in the history of music, in my opinion, you know. But I also like Vinny a lot. You know, I like Vinny. I like, you know, Mark St. John, who I met, you know, on several occasions. You know, I like them all, really. But Vinny had this thing about him that I always liked as well. And I know some of the diehard Kiss fans would say, oh, my God, Vinny, it's all the original four and stuff. And that's okay, too. But I'm not like that. I mean, sure, I love the original four, but, you know, we got to get beyond that, too. And every single member had a contribution to what Kiss is today, in my opinion. And Vinny, as a guitar player, in my opinion, was phenomenal. Whether he fit with the band or not, it's up for debate, you know. But to me, I like the guy too. I've met him as well. I thought he was amazing, you know, when I did meet him. And so all of that is a personal sort of subjective view on what I think the band is. And others may have something different, and that's okay. But that's me, you know. And I've seen that.
It's a thing, you know. Yeah,
Sorry,
you know, like. I grew up in the 70s too. So, you know, my claim to fame of Kiss is, you know, the early years, you know. But I did miss. I'm in that range group where I missed, you know, my first album. It was Harder Than Hell. Mine was Dressed to Kill. You know, and I wasn't allowed to have Harder Than Hell because at the time, you know, when I got, you know, I'm serious. When I got Dressed to Kill, I was 6, and then you see Harder Than Hell. No parent is going to turn around and say, 6-year-old and say, or whatever it is, and say, "Here, have Hotter Than Hell." Number one, it says Hotter Than Hell on it, so automatically that's a no. You flip it over, and you know it's a no. There's a star on the chick's, you know, breast. No parent's going to turn if you know, whatever. You just don't even parent. But at the point, I never got Hotter Than Hell until after, you know, a little bit older. You know, so I saw, like, you know, got Dressed to Kill, and then maybe a week and a half later, or a couple of weeks later, I got the first album, and then next, you know, I got Alive, but Alive had Hotter Than Hell on it.
Yeah.
You know, but it is, you know, and I do. But my teenage years, though, my high school teenagers were the 80s. You know, and I loved Eric Carr. Man, that guy, unbelievable, you know. There's two different, you know, Peter is the man because that's the original four is always going to be, if it wasn't for the original four, nothing else ever happens.
Yeah.
So the original four is just there. And Peter is different drummer. He's a soul drummer, rhythm drummer. He's a whole different thing. When Eric Carr jumped on board, it was a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
And it was a whole different years. You know, the 80s started getting heavier. Faster and stuff like that, man. Eric Carr fit the bill perfectly. They picked the right kid, the guy or the kid at the time. Awesome. He was thrown into the fire. You know what I mean? That poor guy, though. Thrown into the biggest band of 1977, 78, you know, 79. It's kind of, you know, but they were still considered huge. And then all of a sudden, here we go. You're thrown into an unmasked tour with this album you didn't do, but you're going to get thrown into the biggest tour you got. You know, unmasked, and you're going overseas, and you're like, holy smokes, you know? And then a couple of years later, you come back and come out with The Elder. You know, I mean, so.
But you talk about The Elder, Andy.
You know, and I love Vinny.
You talk about The Elder.
I love Vinny.
I love The Elder. I love The Elder. I love The Elder. I don't care what anybody says. I love The Elder. There's something about it that's just so unique, you know, and you know, I hear all the comments about The Elder. I love The Elder. I put it on often, you know, and I just remember and reminisce about that time when that album came out, and I was always asking everyone, you know, when's the movie going to come out? Because that's what it was supposed to be, right? When's the movie going to come out? And back then we had TV guides, and that's all we had, really. There was no internet or anything. And we counted on those monthly magazines to come out to find out some more about it, you know, and then they had some scoop on the Elder movie, and nothing ever came out. But I would remember sitting in my room listening to the Elder, and I was imagining the scenes during the songs. You know what I mean? How they would stage that kind of scene for that song. You're right on. I mean, the band, look, my first show was in 76, April of 76. It was the end of the Alive tour, beginning of the Destroyer tour, right? And I was 11 years old. And I remember my dad didn't want us to go because he was saying that they're just taking our money. What were the tickets? I think it were $7.50. The tickets were $7.50. And I remember going, and we were sitting far back on the floor, and I have pictures of that show, but all you can see is the logo. Because cameras, those little instant cameras with a cube flash, and all it would get was the logo. Sometimes the K, sometimes the I. If I was lucky, I would get the whole logo, But I didn't get any of the band because I was too far back. And I remember my dad used to say, well, what are you going to go? You're going to spend money. We're going to spend money to go there. And it's probably other guys with makeup, and there's not even the band, but we knew it was the band, right? And so that was my first show. And I've seen them now over 100 times. And unfortunately, because of where we are, I would see, the Quebec City, the Ottawa, the Montreal, the Toronto. I would go down to Boston, New York, Albany, whenever they were around. So that was really the circuit that a couple of friends of mine and I did on a really regular basis every time they would come. And in the later years, especially now with the Farewell Tour, the tickets just got too expensive, to go and follow them like we once did. But that's really where all the shows came from, is all the years of following them and seeing 5, 6, 7 shows per tour. And that's where it got me up to where I am today. And my daughter's first show, rock show, both my daughters, was Kiss. And initiated them to that as well. So look, there's another generation that follows that, and now they have all this stuff, and they can do what they will with it one day, because I have no desire to get rid of any of it. I don't care about the monetary worth. It has nothing to do with that at all. I don't even know what half the stuff is worth, to be honest with you. I'm not like one of these guys that knows everything about what these collectibles are worth, because that to me doesn't interest me. It's all about, like you said, Pasquale, bringing us back to a time where we saw that stuff for the first time, when I walked into the Woolworth, for the Canadians that know the store, Woolworth. Okay.
Yeah.
And getting the Migos, for $4.88 each, because they were 88. Everything was 88, a little bit like the Kmart thing, it was the $4.88. And I remember seeing it, I swear to you, to this day, I remember walking down the aisle and seeing the display of these Migos, and just going nuts to try to get them. And I got them at that time, right? But how much are they worth today? I don't know. I've seen them what they're worth today, and that doesn't matter to me at all. And I told my kids, I said, look, one day you guys are going to do what you want with it, because right now I can't get rid of it at all. It's not about that for me at all.
Have you ever done any of the meet and greets?
I have done the meet and greets. Back in the day, too, you have to remember it was a lot easier to do it. I remember seeing Peter and Ace, when they did their Bad Boys tour, that was awesome. When they did this small club in Montreal, I don't know if you were there at the Metropolis back then. Man, was that awesome. And I remember going back for that, and it was just like a regular back in the day backstage sort of gathering. It wasn't like now where they whoosh you away, for a second for a pick and then you're out. You know what I mean? Back then you'd hang out a little bit, and I had done that too. And I remember I went to some record launches as well at some of the record stores. And look, at that time it was a different thing. Those were the opportunities where we got to meet them. The conventions were an awesome thing. In '95, I believe it was,
right.
We had a chance to see them and meet them, and see the gear and all the stuff for the first time that we'd see on pictures. Really, that was really the first time we were able to see all of that at the convention, right? So I have met them. What's that? You almost didn't go.
I almost didn't go to that convention because I thought paying $100 was like insane. I really did. I thought $100 was so bad because
that little book now is worth more than that.
For yeah, but because you used to be able to go to expos, right? Because like the New England area, the New York area, New Jersey area, they had these expos or conventions, and you could get in for $5. And then it was like $10, and then sometimes it was $12, depending who they have. And then all of a sudden, hey, yeah, you go to this official Kiss water, and it's going to cost you $100. Oh, $100? What are you, insane?
Yeah.
But I'm glad it went.
I mentioned it at the last podcast. My first big ticket item, a collectible, was the History book at $150 US. And like now, that's peanuts compared to what's coming out now. The coffee that's coming out, $150 US.
Yeah. I have to admit, I ordered it. I didn't want to because I saw the cost, and I said, do I get it or not? And of course, we're driven by that passion again, Pasquale. That passion drives us. It kills us almost, right? And so I ordered it, and I'm not necessarily happy about it, but I ordered it, and I'll see what happens. I reluctantly pressed the buy button, I have to tell you,
It's
but
so easy.
I ended up getting it.
So Jim, are you selective in terms of what you buy, or just basically whatever you find that interests you? Because for me, right now, I'm on a vinyl kick. I spent hundreds and thousands on vinyls in the past year and a half, but I won't pay $150 for coffee, but I'll pay $150 plus for a vinyl.
Yeah, I have a ton of vinyl and bootleg stuff too. I mean, I'm not in the vinyl scene. I know that there's a lot of vinyl out there, that especially with these live auctions that are on, which is really cool. I have to tell you, I log on to them, and I know Andy, you've done them as well. And I mean, I go on them every night, and I check out what's out there. What I love, to be honest with you, is the memorabilia. I love the memorabilia, the stuff like the dolls and all that stuff, the figures, the cars, the trucks, that kind of stuff, the phones that were out, they're not old stuff, the bags when they came out. I love the guitars. I have a bunch of them, of the signature guitars, that I've bought through the years. The records, the picks, I have a lot of that too, but that doesn't drive me right now. Me, it's more the flashier, more colorful, more the stuff that takes the most space, really is what I like, because it fills up rooms a lot quicker than a pick would, you know what I mean, on the wall. So that to me is the bigger stuff, the better, that's what I try to get.
Everybody's into their, some people like basketball, some people even in the first thing, I always say, sometimes people just collect picks. Sometimes they just guitars or basses, whatever. And some people just collect posters. Some people just collect albums. Some people just collect 8-tracks, just cassette tapes, CDs. I mean, then it's like you can be all over the place, And people will say to me, even "Oh my God, you got the biggest collection I've ever seen." I'm like, no, there's other people who have huge collections. Maybe they just don't show them as much. Because I don't know if they're afraid. I actually know someone who doesn't really. They have a nice collection. They have a really nice collection, and they don't like to show it. They rather just to themselves in a private, into themselves. And it's always cool. Past "Oh, you come when I went to the party, but I came to hang out." And they stayed over his place. He's like, "Oh man, I feel embarrassed you coming over here and seeing my stuff after I see one over your place." But everywhere I go, I always love seeing everybody else's stuff because number one, everybody has something different than you have. Nobody can have it all. Not even Gene has it all, I bet you. Gene might have a lot because Gene is basically the biggest Kiss fan in the world. You know what I mean? That's the biggest Kiss fan in the world is actually Gene Simmons, everybody. So that is the man, But I would imagine Gene still looks for stuff, and stuff like that. And like I said, I went over past walls. I'm like, wow, look at that, man. I don't have it. That looks cool. And he's got different setups and different ways of displaying it. So I just love it for that point. I know, and I'm like you said, Mr. Mayor. I'm not in it for the money. I don't look it for. I'm not in for the money, and I don't really care because if I go, my wife's a fan, Kim's a fan of Kiss and stuff. She can do whatever she wants with it, and if she decides, she's like, say something happened, she says, "Oh, I'm gonna." She already said, "Oh, I want to keep a couple pieces that are like kind of your favorites," and then after that, I'm like, "Do what you want. I don't really care," because you know what? I won't be here to know, and I won't care.
Yeah. No, you're right about that for sure. And I told my kids the same thing. My older daughter says to me, "Tell me what you like. What's your favorite stuff?" One of my favorite things is the Sparkle Iceman that I have. Again, not vintage 70s stuff, but yeah, it's one of the signature guitars. That, for me, is one of my favorite pieces. So I'd want them to keep some of that stuff, and the rest, they could do whatever they want for it. Like you said, I mean, we'll be gone at that point. At least the life that we have, we're happy around it. You know what I mean? And to me, that's what it's always been about. And like I mentioned early on, the 16 magazines for me were the driving force to how I started to get into the band like I did. Because if you remember, and I have a lot of them still, the pictures in 16 magazine and the posters were always the best of all the magazines. and I have them, and it's like I look at them now, and I look at them differently now than I did when I was 13, 14, 15 years old. I look at them now and I said, my God, even now, 40 years later, they still look awesome. for the quality of photo that it is, they still look awesome. If only they could reproduce this stuff and sell it to the fans, because the fans would buy it. You know what I mean? And
the conversation.
it's just you asked Pasquale about the type of stuff that I look for. The live auctions is amazing because I like to log on and not even buy anything a lot of the times, because I just want to see what people have, and it's kind of cool to see what people have kept through the years and to see what people are willing to pay for some of this stuff. Like I have. I mean, I've bought stuff on live auctions often, stuff that I wanted, nothing necessarily of any nostalgic value to anybody else but me, right? And so you see it and you say, okay, well, I'll pay whatever I think I should. And that's what I do. And slowly the collection recently has gotten even bigger because of the opportunity that we have through these sites, and you buy on eBay. I know I haven't bought anything on eBay. I just haven't. I don't know why I haven't, but I just haven't, because live auctions provides that for me as well. So, but those are the things. I mean, the first time I saw them for me live was what changed it for me. Seeing them in the smaller clubs later on also did it for me, through the 80s and stuff. I mean, that was awesome as well. Seeing them in the Madison Square Garden, I remember, in the early 90s was an absolute dream come true. And by fluke, we happened to be in New York, and I see the poster on the telephone pole or whatever it was on the street, and Kiss was playing that weekend. And man, I went to all ends to get tickets, from scalpers to see them in New York City, because I said, who wouldn't want to see the band in their hometown? You know what I mean? And so that was a phenomenal show as well. And that's one I'll remember forever. But those are the some of the the past history moments for me that have defined me as a fan, and I can never turn back. Every aspect of our life that we've gone through, the one constant that we've had is that Kiss has been around it. I don't know if you understand that, but for me,
I say it all the time.
Anything that's happened, whether we've lost our parents, whether we've had kids, those of us that have, whether we've been married or not, whether we've found jobs, Kiss has always been that sort of, that thing that's been around us, no matter what the life issue is, you know what I mean? And so how can you ever abandon that? I can't.
Yeah, till my dying day. For me, my collection has brought me such joy that I want to give back when it's my time to go. And when it's my time to go, I want my collection sold, and the money go towards the Shriners Children's Hospital.
Amazing.
I want to give back. So that, like you, I'm never going to give up any item from my collection. I did that back in the 70s, and I'm never going to do that again. And back in the 70s, like I mentioned in the first podcast, I got rid of all my old stuff. And then in the 90s, I started collecting again to get back everything I lost. And I haven't stopped since. But for me now, it's really about, again, the connections that each of these items have for me in the Kiss world and, with the Kiss fans. And the best thing about Kiss is, like right now, the opportunity to meet amazing fans like you. And I'm listening to you talking. It's like you're reading my mind. It's exactly a lot of what you've gone through, I've gone through myself. A lot of what you said, I've said it myself. I remember back, it was in LaSalle at Zeller's where I found the Miko dolls. I remember getting all 4 solo albums. It was at the Eaton downtown.
Wow.
These memories, and now just bringing it up, it's bringing back all these memories as a child. It's like, man, was I blessed to be a Kiss fan, and still blessed to be a Kiss fan today.
Well, even this, you just talking about fans and meeting each other and all this. This kind of goes into the little segue here. Is that brought to you by the Gene Simmons Cola? No.
Yeah, we can't get them. We can't get them here. We can't get them here. I have a stack of them, but I brought them from Vermont. I didn't get them here.
Well, actually,
opens one up.
I had something else, but actually, I had something else I have to bring up. But I just for giggles here, it was a joke between Pascal. I was like, this next episode is brought to you by Gene Simmons Moneybag Cola, But actually, there are this is how cuckoo I get sometimes though with this stuff is that there are actually, even though there are 1, 2, 3, four flavors or 5, ginger ale, Coke, Diet Coke. Oh yeah, root beer and cream soda. Even there's 5 of the sodas, but there's actually a total of 9 either different bottles or boxes. So I've been driving to people who like collect absolutely out of their minds, and actually, just to let you know, they stopped making the Diet Cola. So the Diet Cola is discontinued. So anybody out there that's seeing this, if you get your hands on a Diet Cola and you're saving them, or whatever you want to, get them, because they discontinued the Diet Cola because Diet Cola's got aspartame in them, and it doesn't hold up as good, I guess, and might not be selling as good. So anyways, that's what I really wanted to talk about. But you want to talk about the fans and stuff and getting together. You know, I collect what I like to collect, or Kim and I do, and you know, I have fun with it. And I you know, as you see, I post, hey man, this is at Walmart for $7.88. Don't get ripped off by people who selling for $500. If you really need it, you know, I usually get one, and then I post it saying, here they are, and I'll display them all. And if somebody really needs something that bad, to reach out to me. I'm not going to rip you off. You will pay the $7.88, and then you'll just pay the shipping stuff. It's not a big deal to me. It's not a big deal flapping in an envelope and then send a T-shirt. But one day I was like, man, Pasquale had posted pictures of masks, Kiss masks, in a Walmart. And I'm like, oh, no way. So I was running around. And I'm like, man, I can't find them. They must not be selling them in the the U.S. It's only in Canada. And I'm like, this is kind of weird. Next thing you know, I got a PM from Mr. Mayor. It says to me, hey, Andy, what's your address? And I said, what for? Out of the blue. No, out of the blue. He just says, what's your address, Andy? And I'm like, why? He goes, just give me your address. I need your address. And I said, okay. So he sends me an address. I think like maybe 2 weeks later, maybe, depending on, I can't remember right now, but the mail, all of a sudden, bingo, what shows up in the mail? I get a little package, put his name on it, and look at this. You know, I'm like, are you kidding me? This is from the mayor of Montreal. Turns around and says, what's your address? And sends me all the Kiss masks from Walmart. And I'm like, dude, what do you want from it? I'll pay you back the money. No, don't worry about it, Andy. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, geez, see, that's what I mean. So it is kind of cool knowing that people from around the world can actually help each other.
Yeah.
which I remember very well from this. That's the kind of thing about the Kiss Army that I remember. That people used to help each other out, not buy it and say, oh, my God, I just bought this for $5, right? And now it's going to cost you $50, you know? And they have 10,000 of them. It's like, come on, really?
Did you see the display when I posted with the shirts? We did it your style. Yeah. When I took them and we placed them all. Andy, you were the inspiration behind that, right? Because I know you've done that with every
all the time. And as soon as I did that, right? As soon as I do that, a lot of people go and buy shirts. I went back because somebody asked me to, hey, Andy, can you pick me up the tie-dye shirt? And it was only, for some strange reason, only one of the Walmarts in my area, sort of. I have to drive, I think, about a half hour out of the way. Because I got one that's 5 minutes away from me. I got another Walmart that's like 10 minutes away from me. I got another one that's about 15 minutes away from me. I'm like in a prime location for those suckers. And then the one I had to go to the tie-dye was the one I never thought it would be at. It's one of those ones that don't get everything. It happens the only one that had the tie-dye. When I put them suckers up and posted them, I went back the next day because somebody asked, hey, Andy, do you have like a 3X? Can you send it to Canada? And I said, dude, no problem. I'll go back. Went back. They had like 5 left. I'm lucky that I got them one. All of a sudden, they were gone. So I don't know if
Pasquale does that to me.
Pasquale
does that to me.
Hold on, time out here. You do that to me.
The one that does it to me, you know, because and to probably the Kiss fans in Montreal, because he started posting stuff, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to do the same when my time comes around. Well, I'm running around to these 3 Walmarts that are in my area, and you know, there's a Marshalls and some other ones that carry kind of the same stuff, and sometimes I have to go off island. But, you know, you're running through the store like a madman, and all of a sudden you turn the corner and you see the rack with the shirts, and it's like, I don't know if it happens to you guys, but to me there, as soon as I see it, it's like, it's that moment, right? It's that moment at 9 years old when I got the first album. I'm not kidding. That's what it feels like. And it's just a shirt, but that's what it does. And so then, of course, I posted, and then he posted, and then we're running around Montreal, and I'm sending him messages, you know, by the way, I found it at this store. And then you have other fans in the area saying, well, which Walmart is it? You know, and they're asking these questions. But you're right, Andy. This is what it is, that fan base, you know, how we are connected to each other. And when I sent you the masks, I didn't send you the mask because I want anything back, man. All I did was I knew when you were going to get that package, even though you have tons of stuff that moment when you open it, what it would do to you. Because I know I've had that feeling.
I went, holy, I don't have these. Now I do. And guess what? Not only did I, have them, I actually cut out your address. Well, I'm not going to show it, but see, the envelope, I cut out your address. So I don't know, and I put it with them. They are now with them for like life. So every time they move to a different shelf or something, they're going with it.
Yeah.
So I never forget. I'm telling you, anybody who's come here and seen stuff like this, they can say, "Hey, man, I sent you this 10 years ago." I'm like, it's right there. I'm telling you right now. I can remember basically 99% or 95% of stuff. Who gave it to me? I can't maybe not know the date all the way. But I can remember that person gave it to me, and I'm never going to get rid of it, And even at one time, I thought, oh, man, when I'm gone, I'm just going to bury everything with me. And I'm like, well, it'd have to be a good-sized hole.
Yeah.
The next thing, I'm going to burn it all.
Andy, I had, and I posted it a few times, actually, Pasquale, I don't know if you remember, but there's an older fella that lives in my neighborhood, and he used to have a used record store in another neighboring community here. And he knew I was a Kiss fan, this older guy. And he called me up one day and he says, Jim, come over, I have some stuff for you. And so I went over to his house and he gave me, again, just for nothing, just because he wanted to, right? Like 6 originals, I don't know, like 4 or 5 Alives, full albums with the books and everything, right? Dynasties. Wow. He gave me 45s. Last week he called me for another 3 45s that he gave me, just like that, just out of the blue, And he says, Jim, he goes, when this whole pandemic is over, he says, I want to come over and I want you to show me the collection, But just like that, just kindness, you know what I mean? And so what better way to make a fan happy than to be a part of that in some way, right? And I've done it for others as well, Andy, like all of you. And I know, Pasquale, you've done it as well for fans when you bought stuff. And to me, again, $15 or $20 isn't going to save the world or change the world in any of our lives at the end of the day. And if we can make somebody happy, well, then that good comes back to us at some point too, right? And so that's what it is. And I agree with you. When I see people buying stuff, and again, if that's what they want to do, they're free to do it. But I'm not going to buy it when they buy something for 10 and they put it up for $50 the next day. You know what I mean? Because then what are you doing? You're hurting the fan at the end of the day. You're hurting the fan that wants it the most. You know what I mean? And that to me, I was never for it. I've never sold anything. And it's not my goal. But some people do it. The live auctions are awesome because you can bid or not bid. But at least you have 2 hours of fun where you can just sort of share with other fans, even if you don't buy anything. And to me, that's what it's about. Unfortunately, I end up buying stuff, and then the Canadian, the American exchange, and the shipping just kills us. So at the end of the day, it costs us 3 times what it would normally. But it doesn't matter. At the end, when we get the package at our door, we're happy.
For me, giving back is through my Kiss Army Nation events. My parties.
That's why I left.
Oh, you're not doing them anymore?
And that's why, believe it or not, that's why I left the auctions. I couldn't take it anymore. Some things I thought were too much money, and I know it's you can either say yes or no or buy it, but I was just going bananas. I'm like I don't want to get sucked too much into it, and I missed, like you said, going around the corner, and believe it or not, it's only a $7.88 Love Gun T-shirt. And I'm like a little kid going, oh, look, there it is. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, it's on the thing. And I keep saying every time I post something like that, I'm like, it's 2021 and I could actually go into a Walmart or a Marshall's or somewhere else or a Kohl's or a Target and I can find a Kiss T-shirt. I can't believe it. How many other bands do you see that? Not as many. Maybe a Rolling Stones, a Beatles, maybe a Led Zeppelin here and there, but not a lot of bands. You don't see a lot of bands that even 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. You don't see any as much. Except for maybe Spencer's or Hot Topics usually might have those. But I'm talking like Walmarts, Kmart's, all those places. I'm like, can't pull my wallet fast enough. I'm all excited.
You know what my thing is now? My thing is now every time I see that, when I saw those shirts that Pasquale is wearing right now, and I was with the kids running around, I pulled them out of school and we went driving around to find them. And I told the kids when we pulled in the parking lot, I said, I think I have a good feeling about this Walmart. They didn't know what the hell we were doing, right? So we walking through the aisles, we find them. And what did I yell, Andy? I yelled, "Wicked awesome!" I yelled, "Wicked awesome!" in your honor. And then we placed them all, and I said, everybody's going to see them now.
And then run, right? Then run. Take the picture and then run.
Yeah.
They all know me. I just put them all up and they laugh and I just walk away, take the picture and I walk away. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm promoting. It actually helps them. It actually helps them sell them. So they shouldn't really complain, really. That's why I look at it.
But to go back to your question, Jim, I'm still going to organize my events after the pandemic, big time. But like I was saying, for me, like I put a lot of my money from my own pocket into those parties, to organize the parties, to run the parties, all the prizes, they're all coming out of my pocket, and I don't care. And people go, "My God, you spent so much money on this." Yeah, but it's for you. But giving to you is giving back to me because it brings me so much pleasure, So we all do that in our own way, and that's the amazing thing about the KISS Army, really.
Yeah, and I know you do that on your own, and those events, like Andy said at the beginning, when we attend them, and I know from event planning and stuff like that how it works in the city. People who attend these events, don't see sort of the backstory of what's involved and the prep that takes place and number of people involved. And when you're running it, you think that there's so many things that are going wrong. But the people that are there, when I was there, everything was phenomenal. I mean, like extraordinarily well run, and Andy can probably attest to it as well. But you don't see it that way because you're the guy running it. And so you're looking at all the things that might be going wrong, right? But no, it was phenomenal. And I'm telling you, I cannot wait, guys, to do this again and cross paths again and have a drink together, because those are memories that last a lifetime, I have to tell you.
Perfect segue to end the show, Jim. Listen, on behalf of Andy and myself, thank you so much for being here. You're such an articulate person, and you're such an amazing fan. And I think you really embody the KISS Army. When people are going to see this, they're going to relate to a lot of what you said to their own lives. So again, thank you so much for being here.
Guys, thank you very much. It was awesome, an honor.
And every KISS fan in your area now is going to know, hey, everybody got to vote for this guy. He's the mayor. When's re-election coming? Is re-election coming up this year?
Yeah, it's this year, end of this year.
Oh, here we go. There's your segue right into it.
But regardless, Andy, regardless of the outcome, we're still KISS fans, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Now,
I'm just teasing.
Before we end, speaking of KISS fans, I want to send a special shout out to Ken Mills of Podcast, who promoted this podcast on his latest episode, talking about the upcoming KISS Off the Soundboard vinyl. And now the release of the Paul Stanley Soul Station. So check out his podcast. And thank you so much, Ken, for promoting our podcast. He is the podfather of KISS podcast. And here he is promoting our little new podcast. It's so amazing. But again, these are KISS fans sticking together, watching each other's backs and supporting each other. It's just amazing. So on that, and to the KISS Army, thank you for listening. And we hope to see you all at the next segment. Thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.